Joining me now for analysis is Pat Dennis, president of the American Bridge 21st Century and a Democratic strategist, and Rina Shah, Republican political strategist. Let's start with the so-called big, beautiful bill, which is headed to the Senate after clearing the House last week. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, a conservative, who has openly criticized the House GOP version, told CNN today there are enough Republican votes to stop the bill's passage in the Senate until Trump gets serious about spending reduction and reducing the deficit. Pat, this bill is proposing massive tax cuts to the ultra-wealthy while cutting social safety net programs like food assistance and Medicare coverage in this bill. Is this bill as it stands now beneficial for the economy?
This bill is a disaster for the economy. You talk about they're giving money to rich people, right? $380,000 if you're a top earner, you'll get more money in your pocket. But at the same time, like if you are in the lowest income level, you're paying more. And not just paying more, you're paying more on top of the tariffs they're already doing. And that's going into your groceries. That's going into the things you buy for your family for back to school. And then on top of it, you're losing your health care. And, you know, they'll talk about different ways to cut people's health care and try to find a way to brand their way out of it. But that's just a lie. What they're doing is cutting health care. They might try to call it work requirements, right? What they're just doing is adding paperwork on top of what you're doing so that if you actually need your health insurance, they'll go back through the paperwork and find a reason to kick you off. Everybody with health care has experienced something like that. And this is all that Republicans are trying to do. And someone like Ron Johnson, you say, oh, he might try to kill this bill. People talk about that. Well, if he's going to kill it, it's because he wants more cuts for everyday people, not to make the bill better. So this thing is a disaster.
Now, Rina, the cuts proposed in this so-called big, beautiful bill would devastate millions of Americans who rely on SNAP and Medicare benefits to get by. Should it pass in the upper chamber on Capitol Hill, do you think Trump's base will attribute the loss of their benefits to the president and their congresspeople?
You know, look, I've advised Republicans on policy, and I understand the argument for tax cuts spurring growth. But this isn't that. This bill tilts way too heavily towards the wealthy. $4.5 trillion in tax breaks, with the top 1% getting $70,000 annually, while middle-class families see just $1,000. That's not trickle down. It's wealth transfer. And so what we also see is $2 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and Pell Grants. What that does is hits working families in places where I grew up, like West Virginia. And as a mom, I worry about kids losing access to food aid or college dreams. And so I think the Republicans need to listen to the economists here who are warning that this balloons the deficit to $5.1 trillion and risks inflation and higher interest rates, which also chokes small businesses. My clients in D.C. know that firsthand. So I implore Republicans in the upper chamber to really seek balanced policy, not a bill that actually picks winners and losers.
Pat, during his being President Trump's commencement speech at West Point on Saturday, he told cadets they are the first graduates to serve in a, quote, golden age of the nation, part of his efforts to rebuild the military and reshape American society. This while the Washington Post is reporting a massive military parade and festivities planned in Washington next month on Flag Day, which overlaps with the president's birthday. The parade will cost an estimated $25 to $45 million and will involve dozens of warplanes, hundreds of Army vehicles, and thousands of soldiers. What type of new American society does this language from Trump reflect or insinuate?
Yeah, so we talk about he's spending money on his own birthday party. He's, rebuilding the military. What he's actually doing is rebuilding Lockheed Martin. He's rebuilding the big defense contractors. But this Memorial Day weekend, when you're looking at actual veterans, people who served this country, which notably Donald Trump never did, those actual veterans are going to VA hospitals where there are fewer doctors, fewer nurses, longer wait times, fewer administrative staff, in some cases, fewer VA hospitals at all, because they and Elon Musk are going in and they're just cutting the Veterans Administration. This is healthcare that people who serve this country rely on. And when the rubber hits the road, that's where they're trying to save money. Now, throwing Donald Trump a big birthday party, $45 million, that's nothing. You know, tossing a couple 10 billion, 100 billion to Lockheed Martin, well, might as well do that, you know, because they're big contributors. But if you serve this country, you're just left out on your own.
Rina, Trump once again blasted Harvard University on social media. He has, earlier today, Trump said the home countries of some of Harvard's international students are, quote, not at all friendly to the United States, end of quote. And they, quote, pay nothing toward their students' education, end of quote. His comments come 2 days after a federal judge issued a temporary order blocking the administration from revoking the university's ability to enroll international students. How do you read this latest escalation on top institutions from President Trump?
Well, Harvard's funding fight with Trump, which is $2.2 billion frozen, isn't just about one university. It's about America's edge. And as a geopolitical advisor, I know innovation drives our power. And Harvard's research really has fueled so many breakthroughs in medicine, artificial intelligence, and defense tech. I mean, think about Alzheimer's studies or military sensors. Slashing this funding, as Trump has done, pushes scientists to China, where they're recruiting our American talent. And I'm of Indian and Ugandan descent. I can tell you, I know exactly how global competition for brains work. If we weaken our American university, we hand rivals the keys to the future. And that's not America first, it's America last. But also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that just as a mother of a school-age child, I'm alarmed by Trump's broader education cuts. I mean, he's slashing $330 billion from workforce programs and Pell Grants. In places like my native West Virginia, kids rely on that to escape poverty. And Harvard's elite, sure, but its research benefits everyone, hospitals, startups, even small towns. So I think punishing universities over politics really risks our competitive strength. And my business clients in DC say they need skilled workers, not culture wars. So let's invest in education, not defund it, in order to keep America number one.
Pat Dennis and Rina Shah, thank you both for being with us. When we come back,